have a completely new life. So that is these are the stories that we want to tell today. And you see so many people here eager to tell their stories. I want to start with Dr. Prema Kodandaraman and her husband, Sri Nithya Natarajananda. And both of them are going to share their stories on their journey with Swamiji, how they came to meet him, and how his presence in their life has transformed them. So first I'll start with Dr. Prema. Dr. Prema, you are Nithyanandam, so nice to see you. And you've known Swamiji for a very long time, and you're a doctor, and you're an extremely successful doctor. So one thing we want to know is how Swamiji's teachings about Hinduism and related to Hinduism, his teachings about health and mental health and understanding, how that has evolved you as a doctor and how it has helped you be a doctor. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yes, Nithyananda. So, when I went to medical school, fellowship, came to US, did my training and fellowship, almost I spent about 14 years. Mostly I was practicing medicine only with my intellectual learning, like from the books and from the knowledge we gained through our training. But once you get to know Swamiji and doing the programs and listening to him about health and everything, you yourself become a miracle to yourself, like the wisdom inside growing about health and everything. It changed the whole even understanding of health of the people, like understanding like how what's medicine is, like the way you practice, the way you approach, the way the diagnosing, treatment, everything is totally different. And the work, like it becomes so effortless, and so many things, like so many incidences I want to share, like sometimes before you do the protocol to treat patients, but once like with Swamiji's this energy and always like you even without you getting the test or lab results or ultrasound, you have that body scanning skills, like you diagnose, you treat, and it's like a effortless work has become very effortless. And even the patients, they feel the difference, like not like just a regular doctor giving a prescription. It's more than that. It's like not just knowing what my specialty is. It's more than, even if a patient comes not with the gynecology issue, like I can say she has a thyroid problem, like she has. So it's like the wisdom grown inside by being with him and knowing about health. It's not through the training, it's more than what the colleges and the universities teach. So that it's different.
Great, Ma. So I know you've been with Swamiji for a very long time. And can you say something about your journey to being a Karta? You're already a Sarvagna Pita Yajaman. Can you say something about how your journey to being a Yajaman and then your journey to being a Karta has enriched your life? How has that changed your life?
Yeah. I think each time, like you want to become a Sarvagna Pita, that all the patterns about money, like holding on to it, are insecurities, and what about tomorrow? What about my kids? What about everything? So then the minute I think of Swamiji, I can give anything to him, like, okay, it's just a small amount of money. Then I always go through that conflict. Once okay, it's let me contribute. And then so once you do it, and as I see that whatever you're giving, like as always, Swamiji doesn't need anything from us, but what comes back is like more than 10 times or 100 times, or you cannot measure it. So when I wanted to be a Sarvanyapida, that, how my mind was restricted, my cognition was restricted with the money. Once I get liberated from that, what I am creating now is 10 times more. And I don't have those. That's permanently, that karma is permanently removed from me. And once I say, okay, when I can be a Sarvanyapida, that, the karta was even at the initial level, okay, what if my kids, don't get a job, or some kind of fear will come, unknown insecurity feelings. But once I complete with that, like the abundance opens inside of me, I see the abundance is created outside. So I used to see 25 patients getting tired at the end of the day. Now I see 50 patients. And then, so sometimes so many miracles, like I'll be thinking of something, it happens. So like even to hire people, I'll be struggling with hiring people. Now, like they are just walking into my life, whether I hired a new doctor and a new nurse practitioner, and even the help I want, like the minute I kind of think about it, think of Swamiji, so that abundance is, the more I contribute, I see the abundance. I'm not giving it to Swamiji. I'm actually blessing myself. Whatever I was suffering with, I need to this much work to create this much work to do. Now it's like there is no counting, there is no thinking, there is no effort, there is no and then I see, hey, like it's not just Swamiji wants anything from us. He's taking out our own restrictions and our own patterns of restricting wealth, and it's not always hard work to create it. And you can create by you cherishing abundance inside, the abundance happens outside. So that's why I'm happy that he gives me the opportunity to do that.
That's great, Ma. I think this is the testament of Swamiji and also the ecosystem that he has created here in LA that allows for people who even come to the temple to feel this and get connected to Swamiji. Thank you for sharing it. Very quickly, I know you have a great story about how you met Swamiji for the very first time. And that's a very sweet story. If you could share that with others, that I would really appreciate it.
Yeah, I always like to share my very first experience with Swamiji. I really will make it brief because I made so many videos about it too. Like before Swamiji, the life was so routine, going to college and coming home, relatives, eating, sleeping, getting lots of degrees and focusing on it. But I know only my workplace, the hospital and house. I'm not a person who goes out to meet people, or I'll never meet a new people quickly, like it's my home or my work. I know I always how that compassion of Swamiji, to come to the workplace where I have to see one of his disciples as my patient, and I had to do a surgery. And in the waiting room, Swamiji with few other disciples were waiting as a family to her. And I just went and casually met him, shake his hands, and started talking to him in Tamil. And then, he said, oh, where are you from? I said, my grandparents are from Tiruvannamalai. He said, oh, you're from Tiruvannamalai. I'm from Tiruvannamalai. So those introduction, even though it was very casual and friendly, and that kind of turned my whole instant connection and an instant love. And I don't know who he was, but I never met something like him in my life. That curiosity grew. And then I just started going behind him in LA, everywhere, reading his books, listening to him. And it's like I was a stone and he made me like a statue, but it was so no pain, no effort, no effort on my side. The instant love has grown into a unlimited love towards him. And I know Swamiji showers back millionfold. So if it was not a hospital, I was wondering where could have I even met him? So even his grace, avan arulale, avan thalpaninde. So that's, I think it's this life's blessing to meet Swamiji in that way, that from that point, I was not focusing more on outer world. I started focusing, okay, it's all inside of me, in me, and Swamiji revealed so much for my transformation.
That's so beautiful, Ma. And I wanted to translate the sentence that you said, Avan Arulale, Avantal Vadangi, which means even to fall at Swamiji's feet, to worship him, you need his blessing, right? So I think the key thing is everyone who is here in today already have received the blessing. So we just have to fall at his feet. That's it. I think that's the key thing. Anybody who comes to in contact with Swamiji, who's heard about him, watched a program, he's already blessed you. We just need to now take that blessing and make that a reality in our life. It's a very simple step forward. You take one step, he takes the next million steps towards you. Thank you so much, Ma. That was so beautiful. Now I would like to ask Sri Nithya Natarajananda to say a few words. I know he's an entrepreneur and he is a really successful entrepreneur in the LA area. And Aya, can you say a little bit about your journey to being an entrepreneur? Maybe we can start with your journey to being a Hindu first, and then we can talk about your journey to being an entrepreneur.
If I might add here before Sri Natarajananda starts, he is also the force behind Dr. Prema Kodanraman. But she is the doctor attending to the patients. He is, the person who takes care of all the other sundries, all the other aspects of their, business and, things like that. So together they have a beautiful journey with Swamiji's blessings.
Yes.
I would definitely say that because of being with Swamiji, we definitely are a force behind each other. I mean, how much he had contributed for me to change also is tremendous. Yes, we've been behind each other, supporting and being part of this beautiful journey with Swamiji. Yes. Like Muktika was sharing at the beginning, I also grew up in a Hindu family, but my formative years, I was agnostic, being part of the Dravidian movement, didn't care about, because nobody has introduced me to Hinduism, right? What it means. Nobody was there to answer my intrinsic questions about life, spirituality, and more importantly, Hinduism, deity worship, and all that. And but I was like any other kids growing up in India. You follow your parents, but you were not at the being level connected, because you didn't at the intellectual level understand the context, what it means to be a Hindu. Until I met Swamiji through my Prema meeting him, and then she brought me in. Everything has changed. It actually goes to speak about the importance of Kailasa. If one person like me who grew up in that environment, even though I grew up in India, I was so ignorant, right? It's so important that the Kailasa as an ecosystem has to reach. And everything we could do in our capacity, with our time, talent, and treasure, to ensure that happens is our number one priority in life. Just okay, what does that mean to not only understanding Hinduism, but once I started imbibing his teachings, his cognitions, how I changed all my patterns and started manifesting. Just give you one example, I used to, just like my dad, was just an engineer, like a software engineer working for a company 9 to 5, a typical Indian-born employee in the US. That was my life. But since Swamiji, I literally do 10 different things. It's got nothing to do with my bachelor's education. It was nothing to do with my master's education. It's all about life. But everything from running a practice to real estate and other entrepreneurship, and how I conduct myself. And I take, there cannot be a better CEO than Swamiji as the cosmic CEO. I've been with him running Sangha meetings, for example. That alone, that from micromanaging to the detail to the macro view of his vision, how he was able to transform that to the people around him, right? And that to me was the biggest takeaway for me. So I could apply that in everything that I do. The 10 different things that I do, 10 different hats that I wear, the principles, the approach, the inner space with which you approach your responsibilities, completely transformed. So that's an example of how the Hindu way of living, being part of the Kailasa, has affected me, has changed me personally, right? So every day I think about, hey, if I can benefit like this, there are literally billions of Hindus and billions of other people who are seeking something like that. And that's why Kailasa is so important. And we are so blessed being part of the Kailasa Los Angeles. I can share stories about how Swamiji started the temple, the programs he conducted, the personal space that he shared with us. Amazing journey, and I'm extremely blessed and full of gratitude for how he had transformed me personally. Yeah.
Thank you, Aya. Could you say a little bit more about, you initially touched upon this relationship between Dr. Prema and you, right? And I wanted you to say a little bit more, maybe both of you, both Dr. Prema and Kumaraya, you can talk about how being with Swamiji has evolved your relationship with each other. Because I think that's a very important part of life that we tend to miss out on. Like, people don't understand how Swamiji doesn't transform your work, transform you at work, transform you in terms of wealth, but also health and relationships.
Yeah, even a couple of days ago, there was a family discussion about love marriage versus arranged marriage, right? And in that context, we were obviously arranged marriage, but we in fact, one of my friends used to say, hey, you fall in love after the marriage in the Hindu tradition, kind of thing. But after Swamiji, and probably about, we were 10, 15 years into our marriage before we met Swamiji. And then he transformed in our own way what it meant to be married to each other, like fulfilling each other's desires, eliminating each other's fears, pointing out, in fact, I use Swamiji, for example, had completed us, taught us about completion all along without for a minute making us feel that we were incomplete. Right? It is such a profound way of transforming somebody. And that's how I see our relationship as husband and wife, as parents, transformed. Yes, there will be like a typical marriage, there will be disagreements, words exchanged and all that. But those, it even to cognize that, hey, when, yes, like Prema was talking about, when you are trying to chisel a deity out of a stone, there will be pain, right? That actually strengthened us, they strengthened the relationship and made us to realize exactly what it means to be married in a Hindu lifestyle. From the way we cook, from the way